Like, comment, share, and subscribe.
A story with more oomph than most today, because we're talking to a woman who literally went from taking care of the front door to being the boss behind the main desk in the top office. We're joined in the studio by Millicent Bruce, I'm very pleased to say, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Kwamms Petroleum Company. Welcome to the studio, madam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you walked in today looking like a boss woman because you're statuesque, you carry yourself with confidence, but you didn't come in exactly throwing your weight around. You kind of came in calmly and openly. Is the way you project yourself as the woman in charge of your own company very important to you?
Good morning to you once again. Good morning to Ghana. Good morning to the world. I thank you all for this opportunity and to your listeners for giving me ear. So I don't believe in throwing away weight, first of all, because I came from a very humble beginning. I know and understand what being humble means, because it takes a lot of love to give a ripple of love. Can you imagine someone coming to make you feel useless? Excuse me to use that word. It suppresses your spirit and your heart. So I feel, if no wickedness, love is enough to govern everyone, for us to live in harmony and in peace. That's what I feel. So I respect everyone and I love to be humble.
That's a very radical business perspective to take. But before we come to the business career, you mentioned the thing of having very humble beginnings. What was childhood like? Tell us, where were you born?
Oh God, this question. All right. I hope it doesn't get teary. All right, so I was born, my father is a police officer. So I was born in the barracks, police depot, to be precise. My father was transferred to mobile force, so I grew up there. So I can say my teenage years, I spent all at mobile force. So I went to a school called Airport Police 2 JHS, and my father is a hard-working police officer, so he never had the time to stay at home. He was often traveling, either in or on a mission. And unfortunately, I lived with my stepmom. I see it as fortunate now because I didn't know God was preparing me to a better height and field. Life was terrible. Life was terrible.
Your stepmother and you didn't exactly agree with each other.
If we say we didn't agree, it means maybe there was a sort of quarrel or something, but there was nothing of that sort. But I don't know why. I was just not fortunate to have a good stepmom. That will be my words, because I never ever had a full breakfast to myself. So up till now, if you give me breakfast, I don't know how to eat. If I can eat, it should be after 11. And that after 11, for my life as a child, I would have to go and work for the next, in the barracks, the buildings are in terrace. So the next person, I would go and work for them. They will give me something to eat. If I'm lucky, she cooks lunch. Hardly will I get the freshest. She will always give me the leftover. And if I'm not lucky, and a food is getting spoiled with maggots, God, that's what she gave me. And
oh my gosh.
I didn't want to mention names. There was this police officer that was directly at our top. He will be peeping, and he will see that I'm eating something that is bad. So sometimes when, in the barracks, you can't interfere into another person's matter. But the moment, let's say, my stepmom says, which simply means I really don't eat the food. So I said, so I had no option than to eat. And it was terrible. Someone will say, where was your father? My dad knew nothing about this. Because if you should when my father comes, my father loved me so much. When he comes and I tell him, he couldn't stand, I'm his only child. So he would go direct to her and beat her. When she's done, he will travel again.
And you'll be left with her.
And it will be doubled this time. So why don't I just shut up and manage what I was going through?
My gosh.
That was the story. It was terrible. I never had a school uniform to myself. So everybody would be in that kokonte, and then, you know, the public schools have a brown, and everybody is in that, and I will be in a grey bath. Because she will not give me that uniform. So either I get someone's tattered, old, discarded clothes, or I would go and work for one of my mates was called Juliet. Her mom fried buffaloes. So I had to go to her, and then I'll tell her they knew. Then I'll take it to someone to sew a uniform for me, then I'll wear. So it is either I'll wear someone's old uniform or I'll wear a grey bath. And the school knew, so they never sacked me. My situation was accepted, and I managed. When my father comes and he sees I'm in that, he will be mad, immediately gets me a uniform. When it goes old and he's not around, I go back to my square. That was my story. It was terrible.
Going through this from a very young age, I mean, from what age were you living with your stepmom, mainly at home?
All I could recount was from class 1, which was, I think, 6 years.
6 years old. So from a very tender age onwards. And did your stepmom have children from a previous relationship, or was it just you, the only child in the house?
Unfortunately, no. So I think that was what worsened my situation.
Right.
She knew I was the only heir to my dad.
Right.
So she needed to do whatever she could to make sure I didn't exist.
How did you talked about the neighbors, the other people in the barracks, having an idea of what was going on, but not wanting to interfere because it's not the culture. You stick to your own affairs. But how did that, despite the little bits of support that they tried to give you verbally, how did that make you feel inside as a young girl growing up?
Fortunately, the type, I didn't know where God was taking me. And interestingly, I even felt what I had was my portion. So I never ever compared myself to anyone. And I think I wasn't expecting anything better. I felt what I was in at that moment was mine. So my stepmom had a provision shop. So a few of the people will come and buy rice. So let's assume if you are buying 1 cup, I'll give you 2 cups. And I'll tell you, when you cook it, give me some to eat. There were some people, they were so truthful and loyal, they will cook and bring me. Some, because of the situation, you know, indirectly, that was wrong. But because of the situation I found myself in,
You had to eat.
I had no option. So I do that, some will not bring it. And I was strong even when I was a child. So I'll go to your kitchen and do a blow sign to you and tell you, if you don't give me the food, wahala. So, oh yes.
Blow or food?
Yes. You know,
Choose one.
you know, there is a saying that abua de nibre neka. So I'll come to you. I was courageous. That was one fortunate side of me. So I'll come, and when I do that blow sign, yourself with my standing, you have no option that I allow them. And I remember all the people I fought, and the ones that were so good to me. I remember, as I speak, I'm just picturing those moments.
So even though you grew up, as you say, in the police barracks, you were almost like a feral child, a wild child, having to fend for yourself with very little support around you. Now, you said at least there were, even if they didn't want to come forward and make your dad aware of the situation and force him almost to try to deal with it, there were people who were aware, like you say, your school, showing understanding with your school uniform problem and just accepting it the way you were. You must have felt a bit like you were an exception, though. What was the attitude of the people you went to school with, your classmates? Was that some kind of support for you as a child?
I would say yes and no. The support I had from them was moral. With my JHS, they never rejected me, even though they didn't have to give me. But at least I felt loved because I could say, this is my friend. When I come close to you, you will not reject me. That was all I needed. I don't know. I wasn't expecting more. I was quite content with what I have till now. So maybe that was quite an advantage for me. So I had that moral support from my friends. They will never reject me. They will call me. I go to them, we play all that I had from my JHS mates. Airport Police 1 and 2 mates, they were all so lovely to me. But my SS I wasn't lucky. Yes.
You moved away, you went to another school, or was it the SHS of the...
Yes, so the Airport Police 1 and 2 is from class 1 to JHS. So after JHS, I went to Accra Girls Secondary School. Accra Girls, I was a day student.
Right.
And those that know that area I'm mentioning, the Mobile Force Barracks to Accra Girls is quite a distance, but you can walk.
Right.
So I was walking. I had connects that I passed to school. So there were times my uniforms were not okay, and we were wearing brown sandals. So the brown sandals, my stepmom will not buy it for me. So either I get someone's old brown sandals to wear. So if I don't get, it means I can't go to school. So I remember one time, for like 2 weeks, a senior of mine that completed that promised me to give me a brown sandals. I wasn't hearing from her. So I couldn't go to school. Then one of our class teachers, I remember her name so well. She went to class and she's asked, who is suffering to Millie? Nobody owned up. Nobody owned up. So some of my classmates pointed at one person that I sat close to. So they pointed at her that she's my friend, and truly we spoke. So she was very close to me. Then she owned up and said she was my friend. So far from what I could recollect, she was the only one that owned up to me.
Nobody else wanted to be associated.
Nobody.
With you.
Even my desk that I sit on, I could go to school. My mate would be taking it from me, and the only teacher I still remember, and I always thank God for her life, Mrs. Damale. She was our PE teacher. Right. When it happens that way, she was the only one I could go to because I knew she loved me. Then she would go, she said, give the desk to the human being to sit on. That was just her words. I remember clearly.
The human being.
Yes.
The person.
I'm telling you. Mrs. Damale made me felt loved in Accra Girls, yes.
Thank God for the moments of light in that what seems like a very somber time in your life, a time of, as you said, you accepted it as your lot in life, but it can't have been easy to deal with. What things while you were going to school gave you a sense of focus and determination, which you're noted for now? You talk about Mrs. Damale there, the sports mistress. Were you good at sports? Did that give you an area of achievement?
Yes, please.
What were you good at?
I was good at, I would say, athletic. And yes, I think long distance. Sometimes when we don't have much of people for shots, she would say I should just do a short distance. And sometimes soccer I joined. I was quite good there. So I was one of her favorites.
But long distance running was your forte?
Yes, it was my...
What kinds of distances?
I think that was, is it 1,005?
1,005. Yeah, that was your...
Yes. That was
I see going round the track.
Yes.
But again,
I think around 7 or 8 times. I've forgotten.
Yeah, so you had the endurance, you had the stamina.
Yes, please.
You had also something to focus on, small points, small breaks in what seemed like the cards or the brick wall almost that had been stacked against you. Academically, from JHS to SHS, again, were there particular subjects that you were learning where you thought, maybe if I stick with this one, I can take it somewhere?
I'm sorry to say I wasn't so good with maths because I think I missed the foundation. So
don't worry, join the club with maths. It's ready.
So apart from that, with the other ones, I could try. But the best I felt I could rely on that will not disappoint me was trying to do social studies. So with that subject, I had a bit of interest there because the books were not there for me to read. I always say, I remember during the time we were going to write SSC, we needed, I think, Macbeth and Things Fall Apart. I didn't have. Everybody was reading, and they would not allow you they will not give it to you to read. I was a day student. So while I come to school, they are busily reading it. So I never had the chance. So it's either you are discussing, I come to perch, listen, whatever I hear, I gather it and I wrote. So I wrote SSC without having the basics, the books I needed to study, to write the exams.
That again was your lot in life. You didn't even have those foundation texts.
I didn't have any.
So presumably you went through your SSS, got moderate results, but maybe not anything like you could have got if you'd had the support, if you'd had the input, if you'd had a bit more love from a few more people. You decided early on, presumably directly after SSC, that you were going to go to work. When did your working life start?
All right, so just as I said, because the support wasn't there, right from SS, unfortunately for me, my father had been transferred. So I had to go and live with my grandmom at Nima. And when I went there, what are we eating? What are we drinking? I realized it was just as it was. So I had no option. Interestingly, I was independent. So I said, no, I can work. Even though my results are not in, I can work.
This was age, 17, 18?
Perfect. I can work. So I was just sitting by our gate and I asked one of my uncles, is there any security company around? I mentioned security company because at that time, my result was not in. And I did not know a company that would accept me without SS. All I had was JHS. So I asked my uncle, is there any security company? And he said yes. So he showed me Delta Security Services. It's when you use the Paloma, if you walk through the gutter. When you get to Paloma, you cross the street and go to the other side of the street. Delta Security head office was there. So I went there. Fortunately for me, that very day, they were recruiting people for a contract they've gotten at Tema. So I just told them I wanted, and they said I should write an application. So I just picked a pen from someone and got a piece of paper and wrote the application. I remember the operations manager I met. He's another amazing man. So I gave him the letter. He said, we are employing you today. So I said, then I'll not go home. So I stayed, and he said, you go through a 2 weeks training, physical training. So they trained us for 2 weeks. It was very intensive. So right after that, they took us to GTP. So I was a security guard at GTP. That was my first work experience, GTP. I got there with no experience, but God was on my side. I met one man, may he so rest in peace. He was called Mr. Ban. He called me and gave me few tips. He said, Millie, I can see you are a young lady. As you are here, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. I said, thank you. And I got down. I gave out my best. I believe whatever you choose to do, even if you decide to take 1 CD and later you are doing and you feel you should have been given 100 CD, that shouldn't let you do a bad job. I just believe in giving out my best. So I gave out my best without looking at the reward. I didn't know people were watching me. So that was my first place of work.
So this is trekking all the way from Nima to Tema for work every day?
Yes, please.
Doing day shifts, night shifts?
Yes, please.
Both?
Yes, please. But we ladies with Delta Security, they seldomly make us do night shifts because of some of the inconveniences. So we focus on day shifts.
Sure.
So when they took me to Tema, I told my people I didn't have a place to sleep and that it was too far to come from Nima. So they said for now, there was no sleeping place arranged for us, but they would do that later. So I came home. Then coincidentally, I'll call that a blessing, so I will not go back more to that. One of my aunties came home and said, yeah, Pajuma Papa, blue. You know, militia, they used to wear that blue. So security is tagged around that. Yeah, Pajuma Papa, blue. And the way she spoke, I was demoralized. So I just cried, and my grandmom consoled me that I should not cry. And I told my grandmom I'm going. I'm very courageous, but words deter me from pursuing forward. So I just left there. And I told my grandma I'm going. And she said, no, I should not go. So she called one of my aunties. She lives at Accra Girls. That was where the funny aspect came. So my auntie's, may his soul rest in peace again, my auntie's husband was the bus driver for Accra Girls.
Right.
So I had to go and live with my auntie so that I would still do my security, because my grandmom supported the work I was doing, but that my auntie didn't. But I love her so much because that was the push to make me become stronger. So she's the best of my aunties. I love her so much. So I went to live with my auntie at Accra Girls. Unfortunately, that was the same school I completed.
Aye.
Can you imagine your teachers that taught you? You are now wearing security uniform, passing through the premises of Accra Girls. And I was living there, I had nowhere to go.
Did any of them stop you to talk to you to find out what your new circumstances were?
One teacher saw me and said, if she knew she would teach me to become a security, they would have rather let me leave the class and to have started long ago so that I could.
Oh.
That was,
Seriously? Said that to you to your face? And it's beautiful that you can laugh about it because you're looking back on it from a place of height, on all those people who are the people who are terrible to you, who are the naysayers. They may have said it in jest and thought it was a joke, but it can't have felt like a joke when it was being said to you. I mean, listening to this extraordinary story, I'm
You're fighting back
I'm
the tears.
I'm fighting back. My breath almost can't come out. I just imagining this young woman, but from the age of 5, 6, living in this situation where there were so few openings of hope for her. Are you struck by this? I mean,
I am. I'm totally struck by the story so far, but I'm also beginning to see why her courage was birthed early,
Yes.
and she lived with it. And it makes me wonder, at what point did you believe you could be more?
the truth is, one, I didn't believe in myself. But one thing that kept, or let me say the fuel that kept me going was everyone was calling me useless. So I felt in my uselessness, why don't I make myself useful to serve people? That was it. Sabe, and truly, there is nowhere I'm going. There was nothing good I could do. All right, but one thing I believe in, if you give me something to do, I do it to the best of my capacity.
How long did you work in security, and at what point did you transition to start anything but security?
Right from Accra Girls, straight to Delta Security. And I stayed there for 12 years.
Okay.
Yes.
12 years is a long time to work in one place. It means that either you didn't have anywhere to go, but more importantly, you were doing a good job, which is why they would keep you around that long. What were some of the things that you would look back at your life at Delta over those 12 years that you say contributed to who you've become today?
If I'm to be born again, I think I'll prefer to go through the same process I went to. Because the training I had in Delta, I don't think I would have gotten it anywhere. Time consciousness. It's a security company. They have taken a contract to guard someone's house. They've promised the person that the guard will come at 6. So no excuse. You need to be there on time. Up till now, I don't know where I've ever gone late before in my life. That training has given me, I don't believe in excuses. No matter what the excuses, you could have still made it better. Except it's beyond you. That one is acceptable. But flimsy excuses is a no. Because with a security company, you have no guts to even absent yourself. Because one day absence can cost your whole money. It can slash more than 70% of your salary. So why are you absenting yourself? If you know you want to absent yourself, do it in a better way. Call them in advance so they can prepare someone to relieve you. In your absence, there will be someone. So I believe the slashing of the salary wasn't an act of wickedness, but it was a way of deterring people from just absenting themselves from beats, so that people's homes will not be vacant without a security guard. So I feel the training Delta gave me, to me, is the best. Originally, I'm a loyalist. When you give me a helping hand, I'm dying with you. Because I feel if you had not stretched that arm to me, I wouldn't know where I might have slipped to fall and die. So I'm just a loyalist. That company was the company that picked me. So I stayed, and they also did well. Because I gave in my best, they also embraced me. My boss, retired Captain Aqua, to God be the glory. That man is a good man. He was always there for me. The wife was just everything she needs to do that is quite confident. She said, call Millie for me. Wherever I am, I'll be called. I'll come down. She'll give me all the tasks, and I'll deliver them perfectly for her. So I realized, I think because of the nature of my deliveries, they were also excited with me. So they gave me, as I keep going, with a security company, you will not stay at one place for long. Sometimes 2 years here, then they will take you to a different place, because the more you stay security, you'll be familiar with the people. So they took me to other places. Millie, go to school. You are eloquent, go to school. So as I got the motivation, I decided to go to school. I went to my boss. He gave me free time. So I was working from Monday to Thursday. Then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was doing my first degree with University College of Management Studies. He gave me that freedom, which it wasn't given to just anyone. So all those has been a very good, and the relationship I got from Delta Security, I don't think I would have gotten it elsewhere, because being a security guard, you are the gate. You are here just in case someone comes to your gate. You don't know who is there. But your security person sees everybody that comes in and goes out. So security gets access to see almost everyone, the good, the bad, the ugly. So if you have a better relationship, you will build it there.
Wow. Now I had described your journey as from security to seniority earlier this morning. And I think that things like that don't just happen. You talked about being courageous. You talked also about being a loyalist, and more importantly, you developed a very good work ethic early. But it takes, to go into the world of entrepreneurship, being able to spot an opportunity. How did you spot yours?
After first degree, I got a chance to go to Unilever to do my national service. So I was sent to supply. I did supply chain. So I was sent to supply chain, and I was attached to planning. So I studied planning. Right after service, it was ending. My service was not extended. So a friend of mine gave me an offer to come and work with her dad's company. I was there when my husband's friend called me and said I should send him my CV. So I sent him the CV. Then immediately he says someone will call me. So like a day or two after, I had a call. The long and short, I was called for an interview with an oil marketing company, which was Kwamms Petroleum. So the Kwamms Petroleum has stations in Accra and, let's say, Ghana. But being a marketing personnel, you would go out to bring in commercial clients. There were other people there already, but I think they had a little, so they wanted an add-on to make things better. Fortunately, it was me. I didn't have anything marketing. So during the interview, I am truthful. So I told them I don't have any marketing certificates. I don't know marketing. They said, you can. I said, okay, then I believe I can. So I told them I can. And fast forward, I remember they asked me what I wanted. From security, I was taking peanut. You know security. How can you ask me how much I want? I told them anything you give me, I'll work. They said no. Here we don't do anything. Give a figure. So I said no. Whatever you want, give to me. The most important thing is you want me to go and sell. Give me the equipment and the facilities that will make my mobility fast, for my appearance to be okay. That's all I need. I said, we are good to go. So they called me. I joined. Fortunately, let me say I'm generous. So I gifted a gift to a neighbor, and the neighbor went and testified to his uncle, because not knowing that they were broke, there was nothing for them to eat. Even in my nothingness, I still gave her the little I had. So the man was so impressed. He said, let me go and thank her. And I said, no. A rich man doesn't go to a poor woman. So let me rather, I remember this, I'm just saying the words I used. So I said, let me rather go to him for him to thank me. He said, okay. And so we agreed and we went. Fortunately for me, I had gone for the interview and I was waiting for my appointment letter. So when I went, he said, so what work do you do? I said, I was doing this job, but by God's grace, I've gotten a new job. So I will be starting. He said, okay, the moment you start, call me. I said, thank you. Fast forward, when I was giving the appointment letter, I kept to the promise. I called him. I went to him. He said, park your car, sit in my car. He's been good to most contractors. So I think it was time for me to enjoy. So I rode on his wings. He took me to office. He held my hand, took me to office. His friend, he said, this is my daughter. Work with her. This is my daughter. Work with her. This is my daughter.
Making you the contacts.
That was all. So network. I feel it's like a story building. No human being can jump to the next floor. You need a staircase. And my staircase was a human being. He connected me. And I remember I was making the highest sales in our company. Most of our drivers that would load, they said, we want to see that Millicent. The others are just too much, and it was me, by God's grace. So it went on. As loyal as I am, by God's grace, I'm not so materialistic.
You're not grabalicious.
So when you do a lot of sales, it comes with some margins, commissions that you need to take. I never took it.
Hey.
Yes. Madam, I come at the order. You left to some point, you realize you don't even feel hungry again. You are just happy you are now mingling with, excuse me, with human beings. So my availability, having that connection with those people was enough for me. And by God's grace, I got a lot of customers. Fast forward, we're not lucky. Kwamms Petroleum was dying. After a few moments, it had to go to a new buyer. So by God's grace, the new buyer came in, which was Puma Energy. Yes,
big company.
Yes, so the new buyer came in, and somehow they didn't want any of the workers. So they wanted just the company. But unfortunately, they wanted Almighty Millie. So my boss told me that this is the offer. They said they want you. So I went and had a meeting with them. Then somehow, my boss that sold the company to him also gave me an offer. Now, Puma was bigger than my boss's own.
But your loyalty was bigger than all of the two.
God bless you. You have ended it for me. So I went to my boss again.
Wow.
Yes, I'm a loyalist. I don't money. You see, money is money. Money can't buy money. But what human being can do for you, money can't. So I always say, if what you have, money can buy, you don't have anything. If you have something that money can buy, my boss, you don't have anything. By God's grace, I have people that your money can't buy them. I'm okay with that. So I opted for my boss. I followed him, even though that was more lucrative. But God in his own way, because he knew where he was taking me. Even with my boss, Puma still gave me a flexible offer. So it's like someone saying, if you choose love or you choose money, you will lose, and you decide to choose love, then money and wealth will come also. Yes, so I chose my boss, and still Puma came. I'm sure if I had chosen Puma, my boss
you'd have lost your boss.
That's it. I'm just a loyalist.
So you followed where your instincts were leading you, and you have always through your life clearly allowed your instinct to guide you.
Yes, please.
In your choices about where you are, who you talk to, the work you choose to do. Your sense of instinct had even allowed you to overcome those very, very modest circumstances into which you were born. You've acquired a BSc in logistics, materials and supply chain. You've moved into working with a petroleum company that has given you experience of a whole area with marketing and petroleum products that you weren't trained for, but presumably the training that you had got for your BSc still, it was of value to you. It helped you understand, if you like, the process of marketing materials, what it took, and most importantly, you were prepared to do whatever it took to move up to the next step. So then you follow your boss setting up this new company, and what responsibilities did he give to you? He clearly knew what you were capable of, what you could move on to do because you had the track record there. But what was the difference of the work that you were then being called on to do, making this choice to leave the big oil company and go with a little startup?
All right, so my boss's new baby was an estate company. So we build and sell self-contains 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 4-bedroom, and later we had some apartments and flats. Yes, so it was the sales of buildings, and I must be honest that selling building is not as easy as selling fuel. So I realized I feel in life what you feel you are not so good at, just own up and throw in the towel. So I tried going. I live at Kaswa, and the office was at Oyarifa. Look at the distance, but I still live.
You know, there's something very interesting about Millicent's story. I'm sorry for butting in at this point, but it's like at every stage, you had obstacles that could and have in the past demoralized other people to say, me pesca juma
Completely thrown them off.
kaswana me kwe juma wo yare. Ubafaka be 5. But you didn't give up.
I didn't give up. Fortunately, he gave me an official car, but the distance. So I have to leave home around 4. I had to leave earlier because he picked me from Kwamms Petroleum. Everybody went off and he took me there. So the people I went to meet, the question is, who is she that she's the only one that was brought? What special does she carry? So I wanted to keep that time consciousness and that discipline I carry for them to see that, oh, okay. So even when they brought her, she wasn't taking advantage of the fact that she was a special person. So I always make sure I get to the office before they all come to prove a point that the man just didn't bring anyone. I tried my best. Then in the process, I realized that was not my call.
Right.
I realized it wasn't my call.
But can I just pause you a moment there, because the story just keeps on being extraordinary. But let's say that that Millicent Bruce sitting before us, telling her own story. There are many other testimonies to what she's been able to achieve through her work, through her example, by setting your own standards for yourself. You talk about relations with the other workers, and perhaps this thing of people holding your hand, knowing what you can deliver, taking you to various clients, making your network for you, even giving you new opportunities by giving you more senior appointments, and what you had to do to prove to people that you were there because you were there on your own merits. I'm interested also in the kind of industries in which you're working, because real estate, the marketing face of that may be very often women selling, but petroleum, which you had come from, was very much a male industry, a man-dominated thing. I'm interested in your comments about that, but perhaps I think we can be able to go to the phone lines now, because we have somebody who is calling in who wants to have a word with you. Good morning to you, sir. Good morning to you, sir. Are you on the line to us on the Asasa Breakfast Show?
Yes, please.
Yes. Could you please introduce yourself? I believe you're a certain pastor.
Okay, my name is Pastor Ebenezer Peterson from Assemblies of God.
Pastor
Precisely.
Ebenezer Peterson.
Yes, please.
How do you know Millicent?
Okay, let me first of all say good morning to your listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Millicent is it used to be a friend, but now it's more like a sister, and also somebody that I trust so much. I trust so much. He started being a friend, but now the relationship has grown beyond friendship. It is now more than a sister to me. Okay.
How did you meet her, Pastor Peterson? Did she come to worship at Assemblies of God?
Come again, please.
How did you meet Millicent?
Oh, Millicent, I met Millicent like somebody meeting an angel. Okay, by then I had also moved from Takrady to come and live in Kasua.
Mm-hmm.
And where I was living, I was using a company car by then. I was let's say 13 years ago. I was using a car and I didn't have any parking space. So this lady that was living close by, like a neighbor. And I was parking the car outside and people were like, hey, this is where I parked the car. I mean, armed robbers can easily come and take it away. So one day she called and said, brother, can you park the car in my house? I was speaking to my husband. And that was how the friendship began. Because she came out of herself and said, I can park the car in her yard.
She offered you a parking space just to make sure that
Yes,
your car would be
exactly.
secure.
And I realized that she has a good heart to help. And that was how the friendship began. As a neighbor, became a friend from that perspective.
What is the thing that you see in Millicent, other than her kindness, her generosity, and her thoughtfulness, seeing your car in that position and thinking...
Your line is not clear.
Yes, I was saying, can you hear me more clearly, Pastor Peterson, now? Hello, Pastor Peterson, can you hear me more clearly now?
Okay, come again, please.
Yes, I was asking you, clearly you could see the generosity and the thoughtfulness in Millie when she came to you. But getting to know her better, as you said, she started as a good neighborly thing and then you became friends.
Yes.
What other things about her do you think are special that have taken her so far in life?
Oh, for Millicent, as I affectionately call her Ayeli, Millicent, if I want to describe Millicent, the day will end and I will not finish describe Millicent. Millicent is selfless. Millicent is hardworking. Millicent is serviceable. In fact, I am not surprised today God has lifted her to that level, because Millicent can serve you. She can really give you a service that even your own blood sister cannot even offer you. Okay. And for Millicent, if I'm to describe her, in summary, I can describe her in 10 ways. She's very hardworking. She's very serviceable. She's very religious and very generous. Millicent is very honest, very, very empathetic. She always puts herself in your shoe and she talks like the way you feel. Millicent is also a smart person, somebody who understands things very, very quick. Let me add the last 3 things I can describe. He's very candid. He doesn't fear who is listening to her. She will always tell you the truth. She will always tell you the truth. You might not find it suitable, but she will tell you the truth. And Millicent is also very, very economical. Somebody who will not tolerate waste. Give her something small, and she can do something better with it. The last thing I can say is that she's also very ambitious. Very, very ambitious. She always wants to achieve something in life. And so where God has taken her to, I am not shocked. I am not surprised, because she really prepared herself for such a place.
Pastor Peterson,
Yes.
warm words and heartfelt words there about Millicent Bruce. Millicent, or shall I call you Ayeli? Because I would like to be one of your friends too. Hearing those words there from Pastor Peterson, what's your feeling? You're not embarrassed, are you? You acknowledge the truth of what he says.
I'm humbled.
Hello?
Hello, yes. Millicent says
would you allow me to say something small about Millicent? Ayeli,
Yeah, Breben.
yes.
I know if I'm given the opportunity to describe you, I will not finish. But I always pray for you that the world will have people like you.
Amen.
So that we can see a change in this world.
Amen. Thank you.
I'm talking about somebody who will serve you regardless of how busy she is. She wants to be there for you.
Thank you, Jesus.
Millicent has always been there for me, especially. Those times I used to park my car in a yard. And because she knows I was not having anybody who washed my car, by the time I moved from my room to his car park where he's living there with the husband, Millicent would have finished washing the car, cleaned the car, everything.
Pastor, your words are warm and they're generous, but you have also succeeded in reducing Millicent to tears this morning. We hope they're tears of joy. We acknowledge the spirit of candor in which you said that your thanks are felt by all of us, and we're very glad that Millicent has also friends and support like you in her life, and clearly helping you and supporting you as a good neighbor and as a friend has also given her great joy. I must say I'm trying to stop myself tearing up as well, because this is clearly a very emotional moment for Millicent. Our great thanks to you, Pastor Peterson, for joining us on the line there for that testimony about Millicent Bruce, our guest, our boss CEO, our CEO of CEOs, our boss lady in the studio this morning, who has gone from the security gate to a position of seniority and eminence at the head of her own company. Let's just pause for just one moment so that we can all get our breath back, and then we'll come back to round off our discussion with our boss lady for today. Extraordinary life story of Millicent Bruce, a woman with whom I must say, when I listened to her story, she has told us repeatedly, in response to many of the things said, including Pastor Peterson, who just called in to talk to her. She said when he spoke about her and the simple gesture of love that she showed to him as a neighbor, that she was humbled. I must say, anybody listening to us on the Asasa Breakfast Show this morning, I hope will have been humbled by listening to her story of rising in the face of unimaginable adversity as a child, treated as unwanted, given no encouragement, with very little opportunities obviously open to her, but somehow, by God's grace, is sitting with us in the studio this morning talking to us as the chief executive officer of her own company. And Millicent, I know you were almost overcome over there, because talking to all these people and revisiting the events from your life must open some places of hurt, but also some places of great joy within you, realizing how far you've come. We can't, we can't obviously have this discussion without talking about what you're doing now, because you've talked about your loyalty, your example as an employee, working for other people's companies, from Delta Security to Grace Petroleum, moving into whole areas of work that you knew nothing about, but being able to take on the challenge. Now, one of the greatest challenges that anybody can set themselves is to say, I'm going to be my own boss. How long did you work for the boss to whom you remained loyal? So you decided not to go with the big offer from Puma. You went with him. You worked for him for how long? And then how did you set up your own company, Kwamms?
Thank you once again. I did just 1 month with him, because the distance and the stress, I realized when I get home, I get weak. So I went to him and I pleaded with him, and he said no. He will not allow me. I should still manage. But fast forward, I got people to come with me to him, and he said, all right, I'll give you an option. You can, because of the distance, I'm a human being. I wanted to give you a room here, but because of your family, it's going to be, because my kids were not grown
Very
then.
young then, okay.
So
You've had children in the meantime. You've not even told us about. How many kids?
please, I have two. I have two. It's an adopted one, making it three.
Three.
Yes,
Wonderful.
What sorts of ages?
please, the last one is 14, and the boy is 16, and the girl is 14.
Wow.
Yes,
So
please.
teenagers as
Yes,
well now.
please.
Phew. So you're dealing with this distance work and children, your family life, and you want obviously to have a bit more time for your family as well as yourself personally. So what was the offer he made you then?
Yeah, so he offered that I should work from home.
Okay.
So whatever I go to do, he didn't care, but I should still be selling the houses for him wherever I find myself. So I thanked him and accepted that offer. So he gave me equipment I needed to facilitate the sales. Then somehow I will be home. Then my client will call, Millie, we need this. Millie, we need that. Millie, we need this. Millie, we need that. I believe in experience. So over the time I was with Grace Petroleum, everything I was tasked to do, I had to study much about it and do it well. I believe in the wow moment. So if I do something you don't give me the wow, I feel
You've not
passed.
achieved.
So I had no option than to study more. So I became a pro. Let me use that word. I became a pro in the oil industry. I can give a tanker a knock. I can tell the metal plate they used in building the tank. That was how good I became.
That's the level of expertise.
Yes. So my boss was very proud of me, my general manager then. So since I was good, people were just, because whatever you give to me, I will deliver perfectly. If I have to install a tank and a dispenser for you, something that can take another person 1 week, I can use 1 day to do that for you. I believe in time and I believe in speed. And I will speed at a right pace so I don't crash. So I do speed, but with carefulness. So I'm always cautious. So they kept calling. I had no option. So I called one of my friends and I discussed with my husband first. And he said, if only you believe you can. My husband believes so much in me. So he said, if only you know you can, you have my blessings. So I discussed with this same Pastor Peterson. And he said, why not? Let's get a business. But unfortunately, I had no expertise in any other thing except petroleum. That was why I made it Kwamms Petroleum.
Right.
So it's not a petroleum.
An oil dealing
Exactly. Because I was expert in petroleum products, I made it Kwamms Petroleum. So when you call anything they call me, so the long and short is I serve people. It's a supply chain company. Because I studied supply chain.
Right.
So that was in my head. At least I have the knowledge about that, and I've gained a bit of skills in the oil industry through that. So I established Kwamms Petroleum as a supply chain company in the petroleum industry.
Right.
So we have a haulage company under it. We have trucks that will lift for the MPA, a few of the OMCs. We have trucks that we left for them. No, I've not limited myself to just the haulage. I do supply of ties, cement, iron rods, everything my big men need, I supply. And they trust me so much that it got to a point I took up everything. And one GM said, the chairman was saying that, and I can't say Millicent Bebre workers, and was after the Millicent after Jumana, a Jumano session biafa. I do almost everything for them. I believe in being truthful. And I believe, why would you pick your phone and call me? Because you have plenty of people near you and you didn't call me. So the fact that you've called me, I should give you value for your money. If you bought it 6 cedis, I'll try and make sure you buy it at 4 cedi. And that way, you will not get it at 4. But whatever I will do, I have a very good relationship with people. So they always give me that offer because of, how I rose. They get excited to see that I'm doing something. So sometimes if their contribution to offer me something, what they are. So that's it. So it's a supply chain company in the petroleum industry.
So you are like the oil that greases the supply chain. You are like the petroleum yourself, making the whole thing work smoothly, delivering to cost, if not under cost, for your client, and providing them with the full service. This must also take a very keen understanding. You talk about your need to serve, but a keen understanding of what people's wants and needs are. And I just wanted briefly, because we're almost out of time now, to ask you about that thing. You talked about how your first mentor, the Alaji who held your hand and took you from one office to the next saying, "This is my daughter, work with her," made things possible for you. It must be a very male industry again that you're working in.
Very.
And the nature of the work you do, I heard your description at the Energy Career Seminar, talking to students there about that's your first job, where single-handedly, because your work people hadn't turned up, you had to install a fuel dispenser.
Yes, please.
At a petrol filling station.
Yes, please.
Including electrical work.
Yes, please.
What can't you do?
Originally, things I can't do are things I don't supply, because even the haulage, my drivers were always delaying my contractors, and they don't understand what the contractors are going through. There is a time to the contract, so we need speed. So I said, why don't I go and learn how to drive these trucks?
So you can drive a tanker?
When I call you and your pace is not encouraged to me, I will just deceive you. Oh, do you know how many are there, bro? I'll get there, I'll park my car, I say, see, I'll take the truck and go myself.
So that's why you described yourself on your professional page as a trucker. You
were wondering where the trucker came from.
Is there no end to your talent? But I wanted to ask you, forming networks and trying to build your business, have you found that being a woman has been any hindrance to you? We know your sense of can-do, but are there some people who say, when you walk through the office, when you haven't got the introduction, oh, that's a woman, what's she doing here?
By God's grace, all the women I know have been very helpful to me. Then maybe, let me say, because I wasn't treated well by a woman, I've not loved women. I've not loved women. So when I don't even go to where women are gathered, except, let's assume I find myself in an institution, let's say classroom, I have no option, they are ladies. I would comport myself and mingle with them. But if I have my own way, where women are gathered, I don't go there.
I know we're pressed for time, but I just wanted to make this observation. You told us about your childhood. You haven't yet mentioned your mother.
As I mentioned my stepmom, it simply means that the marriage.
Right. So you ended up living with your dad. Okay.
Exactly. So she's, and when the marriage got apart, she went out of the country.
Okay.
So she's not in the country. She's not been here since that time.
Okay.
Yes. So
all right.
That's why she's not been in the picture.
Millicent, it's been extraordinary listening to your story, And I almost wish we could bully our producer into giving us extra time, but he's being very firm with us this morning. But you can imagine the outpouring of messages that we're getting on our social media. Daniel Yobwa saying that you're so selfless. God bless you, sis. Millie 1, this is the doing of the Lord and is so marvelous in our sights. Philip Yao Sambo Bikame saying, oh, I thought I knew her more, but listening to testimonies makes me feel I'm yet to know you, really. Proud of you, Millie 1, watching you live from Canada, and many more testimonies. Our great thanks to you for being our boss lady for today.
Anytime.
And any young woman out there, any child listening to us on the Asasa Breakfast Show, overhearing the Asasa Breakfast Show this morning, Millicent Bruce is living testimony to what you can do through sheer willpower and willingness to drive yourself, and not accepting that where you are is your lot in life.
Your last stop.
Where you're going to be on your last stop. Great thanks to you, Millicent, for joining us on the Asasa Breakfast Show.
My humble pleasure.
And God continue to shower his blessings on you.
Amen. And bless you too.
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.